It's fall, y'all. Let's make a pumpkin cake. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Narissa, and I have a pumpkin spice box cake mix recipe to share with you. And we're gonna make it super fun because we're gonna make it into the shape of a pumpkin using these super cute little bundt cake pans. I have two of them. So let me show you how to make this super cute pumpkin cake for the fall.
Okay, guys, let's make this cake. You are going to love it. Definitely add this to your list of must bakes this fall. And if you don't want to make it into a pumpkin, you don't have to. You can just make it into a double layer or a sheet cake too. But starting out, add a box of the super moist spice cake mix by Betty Crocker to your mixing bowl and add one small package of your pudding flavor of choice, instant pudding. I chose to do a cream cheese flavor this time because cream cheese, pumpkin, they go so well together. But you can use vanilla, you can use any kind that you want. Just make sure it's not like chocolate. I don't know, chocolate might be good actually. So then we're going to add some extra seasoning. Go ahead and add 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. That's really going to amp up that flavor. And then, of course, the star of the show, add 1 cup of pumpkin puree. Not the pumpkin pie filling, but just pure 100% pumpkin puree. 1 cup. So we're going to completely abandon the directions on the back of the box. So don't even pay attention. Just follow this recipe. And then for the fat that goes into the recipe, we're going to add butter. So add 1 stick of melted butter. Now make sure it's not too hot because we don't want to cook our eggs. And that's why I went ahead and added the milk next before I added the eggs to make sure and cool it down a little bit. So you're going to replace the water that you usually add with milk. 1 cup of milk. And then we're going to add 4 eggs. Crack each one into a bowl before you add it to your cake mix because inevitably, if I do not do this, I will end up fishing out eggshells. So go ahead and just crack them into a bowl. That way it's easier to fish out. And make sure and scrape the side of your bowl too. I did not do this recently for some cupcakes I made. I was just in a super big hurry and they did not turn out well. There were like chunks of sugar, I think, that didn't get mixed in well. It was not good. It kind of ruined the whole recipe. So make sure you scrape down your bowl. Now let's put these into these super cute little mini bundt pans. I'll make sure and link these down below too if you want to grab some. Like I said, you can make this cake any shape you want. The only difference is going to be just adjusting your baking time. So I usually love to use this Baker's Joy spray. It has flour in it too, but the bottle wasn't out. I don't know. It malfunctioned, so it wasn't working. So I had to use olive oil. And so I'm just using a pastry brush to kind of spread it around. And then I realized, wow, that's too much. So I wiped out the excess. Now you are going to need at least 2 cupcakes. Yeah, 2 cupcakes for this recipe. So go ahead and get out your cupcake liners, but you're probably going to have enough batter to make more. So go ahead and get out half a dozen or so cupcake liners. Now I'm just going to evenly distribute the batter into each of these bundt cake pans so that it fills it about 2/3 full. You don't want it too full because you don't want it to overflow, but you want it full enough because you want it to be a nice symmetrical pumpkin. And then I'm going to scoop 1 scoop each of the batter into these cupcake liners. This cookie scoop or ice cream scoop that I have is the exact right amount of batter for a cupcake. I'll link that down below too. So I'm going to spread out the filling on top and make sure that it's all nice and even so it bakes as best as it can, and pop it into a 325-degree oven. Now, my bundt cakes, they baked for 33 minutes. And then the cupcakes baked about 17 minutes. Now, this is just going to vary depending on what your oven is like, what pans you use, so just pay close attention to it. Now, here's another trick that all of the professional bakers use. When your cakes come out of the oven and they're cool enough to touch, but still pretty warm, cover them in saran wrap and pop them in the freezer. This is going to lock in all of that moisture. It really does make a difference. Definitely do this. Now I'm using press and seal, and I had to wipe the rim of the pan because it had some oil on it and the press and seal wasn't sticking. Now, go ahead and freeze these solid, so at least a couple hours. I did this in the morning and then I finished it later in the evening. Now we're going to make the frosting. This frosting is really simple, but it's not what I usually do. Well, I don't usually do it. Sometimes I like to use canned frosting and like zhuzh it up, kind of a semi-homemade recipe, but this time we're making it from scratch. So go ahead and add 1 stick of butter softened and 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese softened to a mixing bowl and mix those well. So I use salted butter. You don't have to use salted butter. You can use unsalted butter. I mean, I don't think it really makes too much of a difference, but you might want to add a pinch of salt if you use unsalted butter, but just give it a taste and see what you think. I never miss the salt if I don't use salted butter, but generally I use salted butter. And then we're going to add powdered sugar. You can sift it if you want, but you don't have to. It'll be fine. Go ahead and add 4 cups of powdered sugar one at a time to your cream cheese frosting mixture, and then 1 teaspoon of vanilla once you have it all mixed together. And this is going to be just the right amount. So it's not a ton, but you don't really need a ton because this cake is pretty small, and then we have just a few cupcakes. So this is going to be just the perfect amount. All right, now for one of the fun parts. We're going to color our frosting. So I'm reserving just a little bit for the green, which is going to be the stem and then the little decorative leaves. And most of the frosting is going to be colored orange. So I got this copper colored frosting dye from Walmart. It's the Wilton brand. And I thought copper would be better than the orange. They had a couple different colors or shades of orange, and this worked out well. So if you're going to go ahead and get some food coloring, go ahead and get the Wilton brand copper if you want to use it for a pumpkin color. It worked out well. So I'm just adding as much as I want to get the desired color that I want. If you want it a little more pale, add less. If you want it a little darker, you can add more. And then I'm using this darker green that I also found at Walmart. And the colors turned out really, really pretty. So I'll link those down below if you want to give those a try. So once your cakes are all the way frozen, go ahead and get them out of the freezer and get them out of your pans. Now you might have to run water on the bottom of the pan just a little bit to loosen the cake from the pan. Now make sure you don't get the cake wet. That's happened to me before. Just do it nice and slow. Make sure you don't get the cake wet, but they'll pop right out. And this is another great reason to freeze your cakes is because you can manhandle the cake, you can manipulate it, you can hold on, and you can cut it much easier than you can, in my opinion, for me as just a hobby baker, much easier than you can if it's not frozen. So I'm just cutting the top dome off of each of the little bundt cakes to make them as level as possible. And then don't throw away the scraps. That is the baker's reward for putting all this effort into this cake. And then grab a couple cupcakes. We're going to use 2 to make the stem, and we got to fill the bundt pan hole there on top. So I'm going to cut one in half, see if it fits, and then I needed to cut just a little bit more off of it to sort of plug that hole. And then we need another one to cut into a square, and it's just super simple to cut because it's frozen. So I just cut it into a square, check to see if it looked right, and it's gonna look great. So next up is to fill our piping bags, and I'm just filling a bag without a tip to get the frosting on the cake because this is not going to be like a difficult design at all. We're just going to put the frosting on the cake. We don't have to smooth it. Then we're just going to use a spoon to kind of make striations like you would see in a pumpkin or see on a pumpkin. So just wait, you'll see how simple this is. So I'm going to put a little bit of frosting in between the 2 layers to make them stick. And then I'm just going to cover the outside with the orange frosting. First by starting with the part where the 2 pieces of cake, the 2 bundt cakes come together. Fill that in a little bit. And then here we go. Just turn and squeeze, turn and squeeze, turn and squeeze. And like I said, we're not making it pretty because we don't need to. We're not going to try and make it smooth. We're going to make it look like the outside of a pumpkin, which is a little more striated. So get all of your orange frosting on the pumpkin. This is so satisfying, isn't it? I love watching these YouTube shorts of professionals frosting cakes. It's so satisfying for some reason. And then just take a spoon and sort of smooth it out with the spoon, and it makes little striations like that. And then if you come to a spot that needs a little more frosting, just put a little dollop on there and smooth it right back out. So no muss, no fuss, super simple. You do not have to be a professional to do this, because I'm sure not. And it looks great. It turned out great. And yours are going to turn out great too. And then just do the same thing on the top, smooth out the top. And then when we're done, we're going to place the square cupcake on top and frost it. So put your stem on and it will stick right to the frosting there. And then I started to frost the little stem with one of those offset spatulas, like a little one. And I was having trouble because like you need to hold it on because you don't want it to pull off. And I was just having a little bit of trouble. So I decided to go ahead and grab another piping bag and just cut the tip real small, fill it up, and use the piping bag to get the frosting on the stem, and then I could gently smooth it out easier without pulling the stem off the cake. Now, I think something that would be really fun if you're going to make this for Halloween is make it into a jack-o'-lantern. Grab some black food coloring and make a little jack-o'-lantern face, or you could probably even find some like edible jack-o'-lantern. Who knows? They sell all different kinds of things in the bakery section now at a lot of these box stores. But that would be so fun. So if you do actually use black food coloring, make sure you let it sit a little bit before you decide it's not black enough. Or if you think it's not black enough and you're like, never mind, I'm not going to use it, and like throw it out, just wait and let it sit a little bit because it tends to darken, I've noticed over time. And then also if you add just a touch of blue, of dark blue, it kind of helps with the black coloring, helps it, I don't know, look more black, I guess. But then go ahead and take your little tip here and make some curly cues for the vine. And don't forget, use a toothpick if you mess up a little bit. The frosting is very forgiving. But there you go. There we have it. Look at this beautiful little pumpkin cake. Make it into a jack-o'-lantern or don't. If you take this to a Halloween party or a work function or to Thanksgiving, you are going to impress everyone with not only the way it looks on the outside, but with the taste of this cake. It is so delicious. I guarantee you I ate half of it.
There you have it. That's my pumpkin spice box cake mix hack recipe. Let me know down in the comments if you try it. Let me know if you think of any other ways to make it even better. I would love to hear your tips and tricks if you try it out. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't. I hope everyone is happy and healthy, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.